Welcome everyone to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host Scotty McCoy, and I have a guest on the phone. He is the host of multiple podcasts, which we'll get into a little later. He also played the Radio Newscaster in Samhain, my first full feature film. His name is Anthony Blackwell. Hello, Anthony. How you doing?
Hey man, what's going on?
Not much. I'm doing great. I'm excited to do this interview. I've been a guest on your show quite a number of times, so I'm excited to finally have you on my show.
Yeah, it's nice when you get the invite to go on other people's stuff. It's fun not playing host sometimes.
Exactly. So the first couple of questions are regarding Samhain, and then I go into your podcast. So the first question I got for you is a question that we talked about on your show once. Can you tell the listeners how you first got into being part of Samhain back when it was going to be a web series?
Oh man, so I think at the time I was hanging out with these Yags a lot. Scott Yagelinski, who plays one of the nerds, and we were supposed to hang out or do something. It was I was hanging out with Scott and Ben. And they said, "Oh, we're having a meeting tonight." And I was like, "A meeting for what?" And they said, "Oh, we're doing this movie." And I was like, "Oh." And I think at the time I was with Nikolai, and I was like, "Well, Nikolai knows how to film and do all that stuff." And I was like, "Do you want some input, or do you want to hear you want us to come check it out?" Or so I think it's something like that. It's been a while. So we came up and we hung out for the meeting, and we heard the script and stuff, and kind of all took off from there.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Like I had all these contracts and everything, and you're like, I'm not gonna steal your idea, but if I have to sign it, it's like signing your life away. Everybody's signing their souls to me.
Yeah.
So can you tell the listeners about why you took a smaller role into Samhain? Because originally you were supposed to play Benjy, but then
Yeah.
you got the smaller role in the when it became a full feature. So how did that come about, and why did you decide to take a smaller role when you couldn't do the larger one?
So when this first came out, when we first hung out and were doing stuff, I wasn't really into the podcasting world. I think at the time still I had my long hair, very long beard. I was a completely different human. And then I always wanted to kind of do something for myself. And when Stalin kind of fell through, I was like, all right, well, I need to figure something out here. And I always kind of had the idea of doing podcasting because I've been always very influenced by a lot of different people like Kevin Smith and Joe Rogan, Howard Stern. So I always kind of enjoyed talking to people and having those honest, open conversations. So everything kind of fell through, and some time happened, and I went and got all my equipment. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna dive headfirst into this. So I started doing the podcast. And when I'm into something, I go 100%, and I go hard as I possibly can. So one podcast turned into 6, and here we are now. So when the film kind of picked back up after we hit some rocky patches, and it kind of was shut down for a minute, you approached me again to do it, and I was like, man, I can't dedicate that time because I during the podcast I kind of filmed. I fielded such a team that I felt like I was letting them down if I took time away or if I wasn't 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to take a back seat and do something a little different.
Yeah, exactly. So I do know you were unable to go to the premiere. So just out of personal curiosity, do you plan on going to see Sound when it comes into theaters or on Amazon Prime or even DVD?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably gonna go to the Majestic when they play it there.
Awesome. I know a lot of us are gonna be there on the 16th, and then Brett and Shane will be there on the 17th, and some other days. I know Amanda might be there also on the 31st. I'm only available the 16th as well. We'll be selling some Relic T-shirts that day as well. Let's see. So you have quite a few podcasts that are that you do. So before we get into each of them, can you tell us what made you want to get into podcasting?
Yeah, I've always really been interested in meeting people, hearing their stories, learning about stuff in our area, finding out cool stuff that I didn't really know before. Mm-hmm. A lot of the podcast is selfishly for me. If people are willing to listen in, that's amazing. But it's been an amazing experience. But that's pretty much the reason I've done it. And a lot of it too is I talk about most of the stuff anyway, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not like I'm a stretch to do this content. It's reason. I mean, I think the biggest show that I have to do the most research for is Truth Behind Illusion,
Mm-hmm.
but because that's something not every time that we hit the show is I know what I'm talking about at that point, so I have
Right.
to research. But everything else is kind of just second nature for me and stuff I'm going to do anyway.
Awesome. Awesome. So, can you tell us what each of your podcasts are about and where they can be listened to by those listening to this podcast episode of Slasher Scotty?
Yeah, all right. Well, buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so the first podcast is Interviews with Everyday People. That is kind of inspired by a little bit of the Howard and the Joe Rogan experience,
Mm-hmm.
but on a local level. So I want to talk to local people in our area who have gone through some extraordinary things.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of turned in from that because we do live in an area where people are very judgy, but I feel if people just listen to each other's stories and they have a different understanding for what other people go through.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of morphed into I've been interviewing a lot of just local businesses or bands or people who have like a project going on.
Mm-hmm.
I am open to any conversation now, so it always has, you don't always have to come and spill your heart or tell me about a project. We can just hang out and talk. So it's kind of formed its own little life. It's more or less like a conversation talk show than anything. But you were actually my very first guest on Interviews with Everyday People. We talked about your father and some of the stuff that you and your family went through.
Yep.
I mean, you can go back and listen to it, but just trust me, the audio has changed and the quality has changed tremendously since then. I think that's one of the coolest things about the show is how much it's grown and changed in such a short period of time.
Exactly.
Coming up on 2 years, and it's I'm actually coming up on my 90th interview today, so it's been crazy. It's been a crazy journey. The next show is Tornado Tag Podcast. We talk about professional wrestling, everything from the indie scene to what you see on TV, and everything in between. We do a little bit of old school history of wrestling during the show, so we have a little bit for everybody. That one's been cool because we went from just talking in the kitchen to getting invited to meet people and go to actual shows and set up and do stuff at the independent shows. I got to hang out with some really amazing local talent, and then also meet some of the guys I've been watching since I'm a kid. So that's been fun. Actually, real quick, the Interviews with Everyday People has put me in a lot of cool things. The Majestic Theater, I'm actually the first ever podcast to set up on their stage and do an interview from their stage.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we
That's
did
really cool.
a thing with them, which is pretty cool. So it's like going to locations and setting up and filming has been really, really interesting, and I never expected that at all.
Right.
Not Cool in High School is our pop culture podcast, comic books, movies, TV shows, video games, that whole fun stuff. Then we have Bros in the Warpath is our Washington football team, named to be announced at a later date and time. Who knows? A podcast based on that during the NFL season. Banging Beers, we review local craft beers. We've gone to locations with breweries and met other beer podcasts, so that's been really fun.
Awesome.
Truth Behind Illusion is our supernatural, paranormal, spooky podcast. I think I'm missing one, but I can't think off the top of my head right now. I think I said all 6.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a bunch of them on there, but it's all on the same network called the IWEP network. You can find us pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. We're on YouTube. There's a video and an audio aspect to it. It's a good time.
Awesome.
We used to do live streaming, but we've been having issues with the live stream, so now we're just going to record it and put it up later.
Awesome. Sounds great. Let's see where we at. So are there any plans to do any other podcasts to be hosted by yourself?
No. I think I'm good with the 6 I have now.
I think so.
If anything, I may drop a couple. No, I don't see there any future plans to host any other new ones.
Right.
It's pretty much just I'm always open to be guests on somebody else's shows, but I think I hit my limit to what I want to talk about.
Exactly. So do you have any events in the works or plan to occur even after the pandemic that you'd like to tell the listeners about so they can go and support you?
At the moment, no. I want to get some. Actually, we have some locations that we want to do. I mean, we always have locations planned for the podcast. Like we have a bunch of breweries that want to work with us, but we're waiting for the pandemic to end. interviews everyday people has a few different cool things lined up at locations. I was supposed to do my first ever block party, which is kind of fun because in our area, block party is a real big deal for people. And I've never seen a podcast done at a block party, so it would have been nice to be like the first podcast to be done at a block party.
Nice.
Yeah, and then Truth Behind Illusion. I can't really give up anything location-wise or details yet, but we have some really, really cool locations set up that we're working on doing very, very soon. Actually, as soon as I get off the phone with you, I'm going to make a phone call for one of those locations. But two of them are very haunted locations in our area, and we're possibly going to set up podcasts and do them at location.
Nice.
And one of them is a real big deal.
Nice.
I will just say that.
I think I know where that's at, but I'll leave it there for you to announce that when you're ready.
I mean, if you want to guess, you can.
Centralia.
Centralia? No, Centralia's not haunted.
Well, I heard there's some ghost stories about it.
No,
okay.
Literally, they just move people out of houses, and it just looks scary. There's nothing scary.
Then the Gordon Mountain Ghost.
We covered that one already. That was our first.
Okay.
Our first episode. But we are gonna. We did talk about when it gets a little cooler. We are gonna take a walk up the mountain and report there. But no, this is an actual building.
Oh, okay. I have to think about that one then. But so we know that you did SkookStock. Was it a couple years ago or so, or last year or so?
Yeah, I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
Cool thing I did.
Yeah. So, is there a plan? Obviously, I would assume you would have liked to have done a SkookStock 2 this year, but the pandemic closed a lot of stuff going on. So, what about is there plans on eventually doing a SkookStock 2? Maybe like even next year if the pandemic lets up.
This is a tough subject because SkookStock was a very big passion project for me, and it's one of those things where I put it in a location I really wanted to be. I had a team of people with me, and then it ended up turning into one of those situations where you gotta get a lot done yourself. And then once it was all said and done, everyone was like, "Holy shit, it worked!" Sorry, I don't know if I can curse on here.
You can. It's fine.
I should have asked before we started.
No, it's fine.
It was one of those things like, "Oh, it worked. We should do it again." And I was like, "Well, if we're gonna do it again, I need some more support here because I literally was pulling my hair out. I never took a break from podcasting. I never even put my podcast name on the event. It was all to put over to music. And then when it come down to SkookStock 2, I think there's a whole group of people who are planning an event and I'm not even knowing about it. So it's one of those deals.
Wow.
Yeah, which kind of not upsets me, but it does bug me that people are trying to take it over for part 2, and
right.
Part 1 literally was ran by me, my parents, my wife, and another podcast for the most part when it came to my podcast team, my family, when it came to like eventing it, staffing it. So it was kind of frustrating that if you remove me from the equation, I don't know who you're going to have to run most of it. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes.
Right. I know that and you're about to hear me curse. When I was doing the premiere, Amanda came over to me like when she showed up and everything, and she's like, "How's everything going? Is everything going good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got the barrel down." She's like, "How's it going? Keeping everything set up and everything?" I was like, "Holy fuck! I know what Tony's dealing with when he did SkookStock."
Yeah, imagine trying to book a national act band on top of it.
Yeah, I can imagine you were doing a lot more than I was, but like just putting
a little behind the scenes. So I had there was a lot of money put in the SkookStock. And I'm not a very wealthy man. I'm a guy who, full disclosure, I live paycheck to paycheck. I don't make crazy money. I'm comfortable though. Like I get my bills paid, but when it comes to expenses, I'm not one who can drop a lot of money here and there.
Right.
And there was a lot of money tied up in SkookStock. So a lot of it was going to be, I was banking on myself to sell the tickets. I did have a money backer that if things went sideways, I had people who told me they were involved when it came to money.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest though, I didn't take. That was never a backup plan for me. So that was something. We were in for a lot of money, and I had to sell a lot of tickets, and I had to make sure that event went well, because if it didn't, it was going to fall into somebody else's expense.
Yeah.
And they were willing. They were willing to do it, but I never wanted that to be an option.
Yeah.
And not only did we hit the green, but we had enough money to give all the other bands who participated some money to go home with as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome though. Like that, you end up basically not, you weren't in the negatives at the end of it, which is great.
I mean, me personally, I was in the negative
Right.
because I didn't make a dime from SkookStock, and
Right.
I went into that expecting not to make any money
Mm-hmm.
or wanting to make any money. I wanted all the money to go to the music.
Right.
But I mean, you could ask a lot of local bands that's
Mm-hmm.
played tours or festivals. A lot of them, for the most part, have to pay their way into a festival or a show like that
Right.
to play with a national act. And not only did they go up and make some of the bands made more money than they ever made before that night,
Right.
and some of the bands made a pretty. I mean, it wasn't like mind blowing money, but they made more money than they would have if they would have done that show in any other circumstance. So I was very
Right.
proud of that too.
Yeah.
To support the bands and.
That's awesome. And even some of the vendors, I mean, I know we were a vendor at your show, and I'll admit, we probably made more money at your event than we did at any other convention. We made about a little over $200.
Nice.
Which
yeah,
is
I
exciting.
mean, the vendors killed it. I know the wine slushy people killed it.
Yep.
The candle people killed it. Every vendor that set up, they did very well. So I was very proud of that. That every
Yes.
single person involved walk out with some
Yep.
cash in their pocket.
Exactly. I know, like, even doing Samhain, the plan wasn't to profit really anything. Like, I know we like originally it was a web series, so we weren't going to make anything to begin with, but then it went into a full feature, and we did make, we do have a profit now for future projects because of the premiere and everything. But
Yeah.
the plan was like never to like get my money back, because everything I spent, everything Amanda spent, everything Carl spent, everything Shane spent, everything everybody else spent, even you when you were an executive, it was all out of our own personal funds. It wasn't where we were planning on getting that money back or so. So I literally spent like a little over $6,000 of my own personal cash within 2 years just on that film alone. And I mean, I'm never going to get that back, because everything we did make I put into the, like, I put it right into the Gravestone Films account, because I want that to be our funding for future projects.
Yeah. Well, I know that I listen to the same thing. Everything I've ever made when it comes to merchandise or
Yep.
if someone ever donated to the podcast has all gone back into it when it comes to microphones or better cameras.
Yep, exactly.
I'm at the point now, man, where if I wanted to do something besides podcasting, I could probably do filmography and all the other
Nice.
fun stuff, because I have some insane equipment.
That's awesome. That's really
Yeah.
awesome. We one thing we want to do is we would like to invest in another camera as well, like a better camera. We have a good camera, but we would like something bigger and more professional, higher quality and all that. But I mean, what we have now is pretty good. We actually just invested in an external mic for the camera, because one thing with Samhain, it's not really a spoiler alert, it's more of like an annoyance. But like when you were to zoom in, or if you were to like scratch the camera, you can hear the camera audio and hear the scratching through the audio, and it's really bad.
Yeah.
And
the best thing to do when it comes to filming like that, that you might want to look into is wireless mic systems.
Okay.
It's a pain when it comes to filming, because then you have to sync the audio up with the video.
yeah,
But yeah, that's going to be a huge thing. Because what you could do is in editing, this is something I kind of learned, is you have your boom mic on your camera that
Yeah.
picks up the audio, but then you have each mic or each person on the film kind of mic.
mm-hmm.
And there's low budget ways you can do that.
Okay.
But you mic everybody on that's on the film, and then this way they have actual audio quality straight
Mm-hmm.
from each person.
Right.
Because if you try to just film through the boom mic of your audio, it's going to be
Yeah.
a tough day.
Yes.
If it's raining or if you're going to hear people walking on leaves more than you're actually going to hear the
Yeah.
person talking.
Yeah, like there's one scene where we use the boom mic for the audio, for a voiceover audio, but we usually just recorded it with our recorder through the boom mic. But this one we actually did with just the boom mic, not through the recorder, and he actually did it live through a phone, and we just recorded the audio and extracted it. And that scene, like when we were in the theaters, like it was really loud. It was like, holy shit, like this is like really loud. That was like one of the scenes we made a lot of mistakes. The film's actually not bad. It's actually a pretty good film. It's actually really good. I think so. But there was a lot of mistakes because it was our first film that we now know what to watch out for future films. And I'm sure you came up with the same thing with podcasting. Yep.
Everyone's first time is not going to be the greatest.
Exactly.
And listen, and and I told you this from the beginning, you're going to have people who are going to be like, this is not good, or this is
Right.
not what I expected, or it's not, high quality like you would see in any other film. But
Right.
you're a bunch of people from School County who,
Made a film.
done it before that wanted
Right.
to do it because you had a passion and a dream.
Right.
So who cares what other people
Right.
think? If
And-
you had fun, if you and your team had fun doing it,
Yep.
then that's all that matters.
Yep, and the best part is that like everybody actually liked the movie, at least at the premiere, and they gave it a standing ovation. And afterwards, I'm like talking to people in the theater. Amanda yells, she goes, "Scotty, where the hell are you?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "People want to buy merchandise." merchandise. So I'm coming up. We literally sold out of all of our shirts but 2.
Oh, nice.
We sold. We had like 20 shirts. We sold 18, which is exciting. It really was. So the next question I do have for you. I don't know if you heard this or not. At the premiere, we announced Killer Party as our next feature film, and we announced a sequel to Samhain and its official title, which is Samhain: A Festival to Die For. So I know that we gave in the first Samhain a reference to interviews with everyday people. We have a news reporter that is wearing the shirt. We have the microphone that has interviews with everyday people on there. He even mentions the show. He's basically an interviewer from there. Plus, your character is part of IWEP Radio. So, do you think there could be a possibility for you to make a cameo as Anthony Blackwell himself during a full interview with interviews with everyday people, gear and all, to show up for the film to do maybe an interviewing role?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I kind of in the universe we kind of built it like IWEP is like the Newswatch 16 of your
right.
we're the media conglomerate of your universe, which is kind of funny.
Yes.
Maybe we interview someone who is involved in the movie somehow in some way, like if they're a survivor, so they come on, instead of PA Live, they come on the IWEP Live.
Yeah, I would actually like that. That's a good idea. I am going to mark that up in my storyboard. Actually, I like that idea. So the last question I do got for you, though, is so I know you have a social media and a merchandising site. So where can listeners find you and support you by purchasing your merch, finding you on social media, and listening to your podcasts?
Yeah. So if you search the you don't have to write but IWEP Network.
Yep.
On any social media, you'll find the main account.
Okay.
And then every other show that I kind of said has its own little branch, but they're not. If once you find one, it's not hard to find the others.
Right.
You can add me personally on Anthony Blackwell on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all that fun stuff. But yeah, it's a lot. But we have social media for every page: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and then anywhere you can listen to podcasts or music, you can find us at the IWEP Network as well.
Awesome. What about any of your merchandising? Do you want to
that's all in there. So any of those pages you go to, if you go to the About section or you check the link in the bio,
good.
There's a link tree.
Okay.
And that link tree will get you to every single location that the merch is and all that stuff.
Awesome.
Right now, I'm not sure when you're airing this, but right now, some of the merchandise for each show is not up right now.
Okay.
I went and redid the logos and resized them and made them a little more crisp, so when they hit the merchandise pages, they look a lot better.
Okay.
Like for an example, you use the same site I use.
Yeah.
My logo size wasn't fit for like banners.
Yeah.
So you can only stretch it so far before you lose quality.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still set to a high quality, but I wanted it to take up more of the banner. So I went and learned how to do more with logos and stuff. So I learned how to resize them and digitize them better.
Yeah.
And now I went and redid all my logos and just waiting for the website to let me add more, because you're only allowed to do so many listings per time.
Awesome.
Now every time I try to load something, I keep getting errors. So there's a little bit of a hiccup there.
Yeah, this right after I finish recording this, I'll watch it through and everything, kind of listen to see how the audio kind of sounds and see if everything is good. But right after that, I'll be uploading it, and it'll probably be on iTunes within 24 hours or so.
Nice.
So it should be on by tomorrow morning. But I thank you for your time, Tony. Awesome. So before I let you go, I do want to plug Samhain because this is a week of Samhain podcast part 2 with some of the guests. Tomorrow I'll be having Catherine Fried herself, Brenda Sockleben on. I do want to let everybody know that that Samhain will be available in the Majestic Theater on October 16th, 17th, 30th, and 31st. There's 2 Fridays and 2 Saturdays in there. That'll be in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. It'll also be in Hazleton at the Cinema Draft House, and that'll be on October 19th. And then also we will be on Amazon Prime to stream come October 23rd, and also you could buy our DVDs on October 23rd on Amazon. And then lastly, we will be at the Creature Feature in Newville, Pennsylvania. That'll be October 17th. Some of the cast and crew will be there, and some of the others will be at the Majestic as well. the same day. And then on September 26th, I don't know the full details, so stay tuned to our Facebook fan page, www.facebook.com/gravestonefilms, and we'll be announcing more details, but we will be available in Frackville, Pennsylvania at some type of vendor event Amanda set up. She's going to get me more information, so it'll be on that page, and we'll be selling some merchandise there as well. So thank you again, Tony. Yes, go ahead.
Did my little cameo at the end, my little marble thing where I made it,
Yep.
my little whip crack, did it get any laughs in the theater?
It got a lot of laughs, actually. I think some people missed the last part you said because they were laughing at the first part of it, where you did the little two-piece. And it worked out perfectly because we included static, and then it said please, and then it said stay tuned or whatever, or like keep enjoy the music. You said enjoy the music, and then it went the static, and the music continued playing. It was perfect.
Yeah.
So.
It was all improv too.
Yep.
Because you kind of told me what you wanted.
Yep.
And I was like, wouldn't this work? I think like a lot of the movie too. Like we sat down and talked. I know we talked about this a little on my podcast, but it was like what it was and then what it turned into was two different things.
Yep.
That was the cool thing about working with you, Scotty.
Yep.
Is that you were open to listen to people's ideas. And
yes.
You were able to take people's ideas that were good and that were not good and pick and choose which ones work better. You know.
Right. So I'm guessing that's a no on the Ben Clown bodysuit.
Oh my God, Ben Clown bodysuit, turning him into Michael Myers and a ghost and a wizard, and the ghost of Colonel Mustard, or I don't know. There was every. Oh my goodness, terrible.
That was pretty funny though. When I showed you that bodysuit, I don't know if your jaw hit the floor or if your eyes burned out of your head.
I said no chance. I probably came off as such a jerk at some of those meetings because you're like, "What about this idea?" And everyone's like, "Okay," because they obviously they wanted you to have your
right
input on the movie, and I was like, Scotty, I'm gonna be honest, that's terrible.
And I'm glad you did, because if you didn't do that, we would have had those bad plans in this movie or future films, and we probably wouldn't be getting where we're at now.
Yeah, and then the funny thing is, I kept telling Ben, I was like, Ben, I love you to death, but I just don't see you as. I mean, I definitely think Ben can murder people.
Right.
I just don't see him as a slasher killer. I think he's one of those types that you like go to his house and he hits you over the head with a candlestick and you're in his basement.
Right.
Like Buffalo Bill.
Right.
But, I remember putting the mask on, and at the time I had the long hair and the beard, and I kind of like everyone kind of looked at it like that is the look, and then it ended up turning to be Brett with long hair and a beard, and I was like. Yeah.
If you haven't seen Brett in costume, you wait for it. And I'll give you that's not really a spoiler. I can't say too much because it's not released, but there's a couple scenes in there that are jump scares. The one scene where like they knew Brett was gonna come out, but they didn't know it was gonna be in this impact, and the whole theater jumped back. It was. I knew it was coming because I just knew it was coming. Like we had a rap party at my place with a couple of the cast, and I think one of them were scared or whatever. And I knew that scene was going to be the perfect jump scare. And I looked around the theater during that scene, and I seen the whole theater jump. And like people behind me were like, "Damn you, Amanda! You know I don't like clowns."
Well, you said that you're doing on the 16th. You're gonna have a lot of people there, right?
A lot of the cast are gonna be there. I know Brett's gonna be there in costume. And then I'm gonna be there. And Shayna Polsky should be there. Who else is gonna be there? Kelly and Sarah might be there.
Why don't you do a little mini Q&A that night if it's the opening night of your movie at the Majestic?
That's true. We could do that. That's actually not a bad idea. I will definitely. I'll message the Majestic after I get off with you, and I will talk to them about that. That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, because you're gonna have. I mean, I'll be there the 16th.
Yeah.
And like I said, we can. If you have most of your cast member going to be there that night, you could do like a mini Q&A. Where people can see it, and after it's over, they can ask questions.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. I should have done that at the premiere, but the premiere was really hectic to begin with, so that probably wasn't the best place. But
I think doing it the second time around for the Majestic, because you're less stress and you've already kind of got it out of your system the first time.
Yeah, that's true. And I know that there's going to be haters for it, because there's haters for everything. I mean, people hated Titanic, and that was a big blockbuster hit, and people hated Friday the 13th and Halloween, and look at those cult followings. So I mean, I know one thing my agent always told me was, do not look at the comments on anything you do, whether it's books, whether it's movies, whatever. Do not look at the comments, because you're going to want to respond, and when you respond, that makes you look even worse.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, like not everyone probably is a fan of my podcast, but like I said, man, I don't make it for everybody. I make it for me. And if people enjoy it, then it works for me.
Exactly, and I'm excited for everybody to see Samhain, a festival to die for. One thing I will plug is we will need at least 100 extras. We have a big scene that is going to require a ton of extras in costume. So obviously, with that tagline, "A festival to die for," obviously, there's going to be a festival of some sort happening. So definitely one would like to have plug that. Like obviously, you can like our fan pages, Facebook.com/GravestonFilms, Twitter.com/GravestonFilms, Instagram, we're Gravestone Films Prod on there. So come and give us a follow. And thank you, Tony, again for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for making the time for us.
Always, man, always.
All right. You have a good rest of your day.
You too.
All right. Yep, bye.